So today I have the pleasure of talking with Tom. Please introduce yourself and your business to the community.
Hi, I'm Tom Roberts and I'm from Dementia Friendly Barbers. We've been going for about 4.5 years now. What we are is a business more with a purpose. So we're a not-for-profit business, and we are based in care homes all over the UK. We started off in one small care home in Sutton Coldfield, and it sort of grew from there. So what we are is we put small barbershops into dementia care homes. Some already have hairdressers in there, but we discovered there's a bit of a lack for how should I put it? There's a bit of a there wasn't much going on in the care homes for the gentlemen, basically. So we decided that we were going to just test the waters and see if a barbershop worked in a dementia care home. The first one went really well. And that was with Care UK, and within that company we then grew and had about 6 or 7 small barbershops in Care UK, and then other people found out about us, and it sort of grew from there. Really, we're on about, I think, 16 or 17 care homes now. Obviously with lockdown it knocked the progress a little bit. We had a few care homes that we were about to go into, and then lockdown happened, and we're sort of trying to reconnect with those care homes at the moment. But yeah, we've employed our first member of staff. So originally it was me doing the care homes on my own. I left my job at managing a busy barbershop in Birmingham city centre, and went on my own to just do that solely. Yeah, so that's that really. And then so we've got Leon that now works with us. He does about 10 days a month. I do the other ones. And then on the back of that, I also set up my own barbershop as well. So I've got 2 barbershops in Sutton Coldfield, as well as dementia friendly barbers. One's called the Gentry and one's called Number 10 Studios.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Congratulations on the growth and the expansion that you've experienced there.
Thank you.
You mentioned the word COVID.
Yeah.
So I just would like to pick up on that really.
Yeah.
And were there any changes that you had considered that perhaps COVID made it necessary?
If anything, I think COVID made me be a bit more ruthless with growing the business. I mean, I think with when we first set out, I was very nervous about calling up care homes. I was a bit more shy about the process, but I think maybe the only thing was the pricing that I changed since COVID. So we originally were just charging per haircut in the care homes. And I wasn't factoring in, like, this was my own mistake, I wasn't factoring in the fuel, I wasn't factoring in, so obviously due to COVID and all of that sort of stuff, fuel prices went up, and I think we didn't factor that in as such. So instead of charging per haircut now, we just charge day rates to the homes, which makes it easier to then pay staff, etc. But we didn't make any massive changes apart from that, from COVID to now. That was the only change that we made.
Fantastic. You talked about if we look at the care homes being your customers,
yeah,
who's your ideal type of care home?
Ideal type of care home. It's very hard really to say what the ideal type of care home is. I think we had to begin with, we just took what we could, but from working in different care homes and it not working with some homes, not working with others, I think it's a lot more of the new ones that are like private owned care homes. They're the ones that we sort of end up going into, just purely because of the fact that they've got the finances to look after the gentleman in the home. Whereas obviously you find with the smaller ones, they don't do as much because they haven't got as much funding. Whereas the big private owned care homes have more funding and more of a budget to obviously get people like us into the home.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about expansion and growing, and obviously since your startup, you've had some some great wins there. What would you say that one of your biggest challenges have been along that growth period?
That's quite an easy question, actually. I think the biggest challenge that we've had is really connecting with the correct person within a care home group to get us into the home to start off with. So it was difficult to try and find the correct person and who to target with the care home groups for us to go in. So like we'd be making cold calls to care home groups, like just individual care homes, and people would just go in, nah, see you later, we've got a hairdresser, and they weren't understanding the experience we were providing for the gentleman. They were just going, we've got a hairdresser, that's that. But a hairdresser doesn't give the same service that we do. So we put our old school music on, we do hot towel shaves. It's nice for a man to have a male to male experience as opposed to just being a female doing it, and just it's a completely different experience having us in as opposed to a hairdresser. But we found that a lot of homes didn't really understand that until they maybe had us in once and realised the difference. And then the other difficult thing was we turn up at care homes and there weren't some of them wouldn't be as, got to be careful what to say here, but they wouldn't be as organised as we'd have preferred them to be. So we'd get there and they'd be like, we don't know who you've got to do today. And someone would end up turning up. So since obviously doing the day rate, we'd have someone turn up to cut a load of the gentleman's hair, but the staff wouldn't have got the gents ready, so they'd done like 3 haircuts and we'd have charged the day rate, and it wouldn't be worth it for the home, which then meant that we lost the home. But the only reason we lost the home was because the staff within the home weren't bringing the gents down, and they weren't helping us provide the service that we know that we can provide. So again, I mentioned the word ruthless. We've had to be a lot more ruthless with how things work. So as opposed to going, we're a barber, we're coming for the day, we have to go, right, we call up the day before and we go, right, we're coming in tomorrow, can you make sure there's a list of gents for us to do? And then we have to literally go around if it's not being done by the care staff, because obviously they are busy and overworked. But if they're not able to bring the customers down to us, we'll have to go up and find them, or we'll go to the room and do it from the room if they can't get out of their beds. And it's just been a lot more confident with the way we do things. At the start, I was a bit more not as confident with it, but now we've just got to be a lot more confident and with the way that we go about everything, as opposed to relying on the team in the care home to do that. Like, their job is obviously to look after the gentleman in the home. Our job is to provide the service to the gentleman. So it's just taken a bit more initiative, really.
I love that. Looking at that process and managing expectations, I think that
definitely
in the place. So we talked about challenges, and I know we've had some of the success along the way, but what would you say one of your biggest successes have been?
It's quite a difficult one, really. I mean, I think there's a couple of things. I think securing one of the biggest successes was obviously securing a couple of homes within the care home group. So our first sort of 4 or 5 homes, I was over the moon with that, because I literally took the first care home on and didn't think it was going to turn into a business. And then for me to then leave the job where I was really well paid and I was the manager, and I didn't need to leave, for me to then take that risk and leave and it work was just brilliant. And then from when I was a young lad, there was a barbershop that was in Streatley Village called the Gentry, that I always had my eyes on, and I thought I want to own that one day. And in the back of my head, it was always there in the back of my head that I wanted to own it. So I then opened a shop up round the corner, and within probably a year, the owner of the Gentry came and spoke to me and asked if I wanted to buy the shop. So then I bought the shop, and now we own the shop that I've always wanted. So that's probably the biggest thing for me was getting the keys for that shop that I always had my eyes on from when I was younger, and being able to grow it. And from when I took over to now, the profits from the shop, I've only made little tweaks and changes so far, but they've been very positive. Obviously, we've lost a few customers that don't like the tweaks and changes we made, but that's just business. You are going to lose people. So but the money that the shop's turning over now is probably 15% up from when I took over 6 months ago, so I can't complain.
Fantastic. There's a number of achievements and progression there. So what inspired you with the supporting the male patients in the care homes? What inspired you to do that?
Well, I'd love to sit here and take credit for it, but it's not completely something that I did off the top of my head. I've followed it up because of a personal thing where my nan had dementia, and I watched her deteriorate over years. But that wasn't the sole reason. The main thing was when I was at Barber in Birmingham City Centre, we had a phone call from a care home, the first one that I started, Mercy Grange. And they just said, we're doing a National Men's Day. Can we have a barber come down? We just want to get one barber to come down for the day and just look after the gents. I then did think that sounds like a good idea. It was just one of them out of the blue, and I thought that could be something that could. So I went down for the day. I had a barber's chair that I was cutting hair from home with at the time, and so I did the day there. And then after, I said, well, do you want me to come once a month? I said, I've got a chair, I can donate it. It was like, that's brilliant. So from then on, I did every month. I visited once, and I put the chair in the care home and left it there for them. And then it sort of progressed within that. So then what I did was, I was putting every care home that I had, I was putting a chair in there. But that was then costing me £700, which was a lot of money to outlay every time I do a new care home. I didn't expect it to grow as much as it did. So we've had to make a few compromises with the service that we're giving now, because of the cost and because of the risk. Because obviously, as I said before, some care homes will use us and it might not work because of certain reasons of not being able to get the gents down, or it not being organised enough. So we do it slightly differently, as opposed to just saying, right, £700 per home, because it'll take nearly a year to just get that money back. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So well, not a year, it'll take about 4 months with paying staff and stuff, but it just made sense for us to do it different ways, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And but I love that. I can hear the passion and the energy there to purpose. How would you say that you've changed since becoming a business owner?
I think that I've changed a lot over the years, because when I first managed the shop in Birmingham City Centre, I was 22. I was the youngest one in the shop, and I'd put that in my head. I was like, right, I want to manage this shop. I was there 6 months, and the job came up for manager. So I just took on the role without being asked, and did it unpaid as the manager after about 4 months, and then said to the owner at the time, I was like, look, I've been managing the shop for a while, I need you to pay me for it. So he did, but I was quite arrogant. If I'm in all honesty, as a manager, I was quite arrogant, and I didn't do things the way I should have. But that benefited me because I was doing it in someone else's shop, not my own. Do you know what I mean? So I know it's so as I was arrogant from when I was 22 managing that shop. But then I learned that I couldn't be, and I learned how to deal with staff properly, how I needed to portray myself, that, you know, you're just another person, you're just looking after a team. And at the end of the day, you are just a barber. It's not a complex job. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't involve having major GCSEs. Do you know what I mean? But it's just about being able to run a business properly. So when I started on my own, all sort of ego went out the window, and it was just, right, that's me on my own. I've got to just do my best and see how it goes. And now I'm managing. I've got one lad working at dementia friendly barbers for me, and I've got 5 staff at the barbers. And it's just about making sure that you are as positive with the staff as you can be, and, you know, not make them your friend as such, because that's what another error I made. I was making them my friends when I first was managing the shop. But you can't make them your friends, but you've also got to be there for them and listen to what they've got to say. It's not just your way or the highway. It doesn't work like that. You can't maintain and keep staff that way.
Absolutely amazing, and the growth journey there at such a a younger age as well is just fantastic. And finally, if somebody came to you and said, I'm about to start a business, what would be a piece of advice that you would share with them?
It's a difficult question. I've never really thought of. I've never been asked that before. just to be careful. Be careful with everything you do. Make sure you manage your money. I think that's another mistake I made, was I didn't manage my money as well as I should have. So to make sure that they're managing the money properly, they're not spending it as soon as it comes in. Always put it back into the business. And you know, if you need to live off beans and toast for a few years, then do so. Don't just think because you've got money in the bank you can go and spend it. When you've got a company, it's not the same as working for someone else. If the money's there in the bank, it doesn't mean it's yours. It's the company's. You've got to live off what you need to live off, and the rest has to go back into the company to keep it going. Because, you know, a company shouldn't really start making money for at least 3 years, should it? So just make sure you're pumping the money back into the company and not spending it as soon as it comes in. Don't get all excited because you might have a month where you end up in nothing.
Great advice. Cash is king. Cash flow is the heartbeat.
Yeah.
Tom, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your story with us. It's incredible.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the successes and the growth.
Thank you.
Good luck for the future.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.